policy about demonstrations, handing out these sort of things. I'm going to get you a copy of it just here real fast.
Okay.
Basically, well, I'll just let you read it. Basically, it'll explain much better than I'll be able to, but it says you have to give 7 days notice. You have to apply to come here and demonstrate, do anything along those sort of lines.
Public campus, right?
It is. It is.
Great. Then we're good to go.
Oh, no. We have a policy that, again, if you're going to be demonstrating, you're going to be handing out anything.
Exercising my First Amendment rights, freedom to assembly.
That's exactly what the policy is called.
The Constitution overrides any city ordinance or campus policy, so I'm gonna.
And that's a wonderful stance to take.
Well, no, I'm saying the U.S. Constitution overrides it. That's not my stance. That's what the Constitution does.
Okay, and so, you and I aren't going to debate this.
No, I'm just telling you.
If you don't do and follow our guidelines, I will call the police officers.
Go ahead.
And I'll have you removed.
Okay, you're free to call the police.
And then you might not be able to come back, certainly until you apply again.
You're free to call the police. They'll tell you that I have a right to be here to exercise the First Amendment.
Not in violation of our policies.
Well, like I said, the U.S. Constitution overrides the campus policy.
Circle we're just going.
No, I'm just trying to answer because you're not hearing that, but.
Oh no, trust me, I hear everything.
But you don't agree with that, so. But you're welcome to call the police.
And you probably will if you're gonna continue to stand out here and hand out pamphlets without permission from the campus. Yeah, we will call the police.
Go ahead.
Without a doubt.
Go ahead.
Yep,
we have a copy of it.
We have a new policy. Record whatever you want. That it requires a 1 week.
Yeah, he told me.
Okay.
And as I explained to him,
if you're not going to abide by that, we do have to call the police.
I'm abiding by the U.S. Constitution. That gives me the right to.
By school
well,
policy.
the U.S. Constitution overrides this.
I understand.
It's the law of the land.
This will just be a circle that I've been going.
Well, I'm trying to explain it to you, but you're not.
I don't know why you think I don't understand.
Because if you understood, then you'd agree. Then yes, the U.S. Constitution allows you the freedom to do this, so go right ahead.
Okay.
Right?
And again, like I told you, that's a wonderful stance to take.
Okay. Have you read the U.S.?
If that were going to be debated in a court of law, you might even win that.
Oh, I would win. And I'm not saying that like proudly. I'm saying that they would understand the U.S. Constitution overrides any city ordinance or campus policy.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Now, if this was private campus, you'd have a point. Then, yeah.
Okay.
So, but you're free to call the police if you want.
We're just going in circles here.
But the college still has the ability to govern what happens on their property.
Not in violation of the U.S. Constitution and the First Amendment.
I'll tell you what. Hang out here and do whatever you're going to do.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
And obviously you don't have to tell me, but are your plans to do more than just park here on the campus?
Proclaim the gospel.
I'm sorry.
Proclaim the gospel.
And how are you going to do that, if I may ask? Again, you don't have to tell me.
You'll see. You'll see.
Okay.
All peacefully. All peacefully.
There you go, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Once again, we're going to ask that you leave with the policy that we gave you, that you do that application and give 7 days notice. If you don't, what we're going to do is ask the officers, or we're going to advise you of criminal trespass and ask the officers to have you to leave, okay?
Okay. So did they explain to you the First Amendment, that I have a right to be here, that I don't have to sign anything?
So you do have a right to protest. However, this is a publicly accessible space. However, it is owned by the community college, which is a privately owned establishment. So therefore, they control all the grounds on it because this is owned by HCC. So you do have the right to protest. You have the right to your First Amendment. You have the right to be here publicly. But they also have control of the campus because they are in control of all these grounds. It's all owned by HCC. So they could still have somebody advise because it's still privately owned by the college. Now, like if you were on the sidewalk over there that nobody owns, yeah, you're absolutely right. You can do it all day long.
Where?
Like over there on the sidewalk over there, yeah, all day long. It's completely public property. You can do whatever you want over
Talking about right over there, by that by that
by the
tree.
street.
By the street, that's all city property.
All the way over there where people aren't walking.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people walk over there.
So
but again, you could do it right here, or where I forget where our policy mandates it. Do you know? Is it over there?
Public space.
Is it over there? Yeah. You can do it here, but you've got to get you have to give the 7 day notice, and it has to be approved within that 7 days.
Like everybody else.
And that was the paper I gave you earlier.
Well, I've been here before and had no problem.
This policy was just enacted in the last 6 months.
Why? Like what? For what reason?
Because it's their campus.
So
We can enact whatever policies we want.
So I'm just curious what, like, if it was in response
So
to something.
we're done here. If
Okay.
you're not going to leave
So,
on your own, we're
well,
going to advise you.
well, I'm asking questions because I do.
Okay,
got
well, we're asking you to leave.
So this is all this is public campus,
We're
right?
asking you to leave.
So it is
It's
publicly,
privately
it's
owned by
privately
the
owned, but
college. It's just
publicly
public
accessed.
access.
So how does that work? If
So
it's privately owned, but it's public
if someone
access.
just wants
We're
to
asking you
walk
to leave.
through, they
I'm
can.
please. I'm allowed.
We're
please-
allowed, you were asking you to leave.
I'm talking to the officers.
You know the answer to all these questions that you're
But
asking.
the point here is you are allowed to do that if you go through their proper channels. So you have to sign their form
Yeah.
saying that you can be on campus protesting, which is fine. You're correct. That's protected by the Constitution. But to do it on private property, you have to go through their chain of
So
command.
you're saying this is private property right here?
Yes,
Yes, because
it's owned by the college.
HCC. This is all owned, managed, and maintained by the college.
And the
Now, if it was like Plum Street right over there, that's owned by the city and it's publicly accessible, yeah, you can be there all day long. But with something that's privately owned, managed, and basically run by the campus, they're in control of who goes. Yes, you're absolutely right. It is a public space in terms that someone could walk through the sidewalk and walk over here, but they still can control who comes out campus. It's kind of like some if you're on like Wichita State campus. Wichita State is enclosed through its campus. It is a public space in terms of I could just walk through it. However, they still own, control it, maintain it, and run everything with it. All the basically funding. If a building breaks or deteriorates, HCC, WHC, whoever is the one that repairs it, not us. So therefore, it is publicly accessible since you can walk through it, but it's not public since it's not owned by the public. It's owned privately by the college. So with this, it's kind of like with HCC. So they own this building, the sidewalk, everything over here is owned, maintained, and run by HCC. So they can control who's on the property, and they can advise you trespass from property if you don't adhere to their guidelines. So that's how they have the right to do that. Now, like I said, if you were over there like on Plum Street and doing your thing, nobody could stop you because you're absolutely right. You're well within. It's a public space, publicly owned. You don't have to have a permit. You can stand there all day long and do whatever you want. But if it's something like this, you do have to go through the right channels, which is these guys, and fill out a 7-day pass basically, saying that, hey, I want to do this in 7 days, get it approved, and go from there. So
wow.
that's it. I know. I get where you're
U.S.
coming.
Constitution flushed down the toilet.
It's not necessarily flushed. It's only when it comes to private property. They can't restrict what you're saying, but they can restrict where you're at. So you can say what you want on wherever you're at, but they can restrict if you're on private property if they can be there or not. The First Amendment gives you your right to, freedom of speech and all that in assembly, but you still have to lawfully do it, and you have to be in an area where you can lawfully be. With this being a privately owned institution, they can determine who's here and who's not here. So same thing if you walked into like a Walmart and you want to protest inside of a Walmart, you have your right to protest and your right to say whichever you want to say, but Walmart is a privately owned business. They can determine who can be inside there and who can't, and they can remove whoever they want from the property because it's not owned by us, it's not owned by the city, it's owned by HCC or Walmart. It's an independent, privately owned entity, and they can choose who can come and go on that grounds. So that's why we're here.
And the policy that I gave you, it does dictate that your viewpoints will never be a reason for you to be denied a reason to come here and protest or demonstrate. And if it is, you'll be notified of that in writing. So again, you can come back as long as you follow the procedures that I gave you that you put inside your van.
Yeah.
So, what are your name, Officer Long and Officer Peak?
Yep.
And your badge number, please?
157, 144. Yep.
44. Do you have a supervisor I can speak with?
I am a supervisor.
You are the supervisor? You don't have any higher up?
My lieutenant, but he's not working today.
Okay. Because so this college campus, that I've looked it up before, it's a public university, right?
It's a public university that's owned and maintained by HCC. It's not owned by the public. You can publicly be here, but it's a privately owned business.
Probably owned business. Okay.
Like courthouses,
Yeah.
publicly owned, publicly run, publicly funded. Not the same with HCC.
Okay, so, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time, I'm just asking questions. What will be the consequence if I remain where I'm at?
So if you say they want you to advise trespass, if you still stay beyond it, you'll be arrested for criminal trespass.
Okay.
Because at that point in time, you've been notified to leave, you're refusing to leave, you've been advised of staff to leave, and have been notified by us you need to leave lawfully. You're refusing to leave a place where you've been advised of trespass, therefore you are trespassing.
So they would trespass me, and then if I refuse to leave, then I'd be arrested?
Yeah, you have to be arrested.
Wow. Arrested for staying on public property.
And if we advise you of criminal trespass, it'll be for all of Hutchinson Community College property, not just this area. It'll be everywhere, all our surrounding campuses.
Wow. In America.
we're trying to avoid that here. That's why
we
we're talking.
don't want to take you to jail or anything
Well,
like that.
for standing on public property, for exercising First Amendment.
Well, that's what we're saying. Is this
Wow.
is not
It's a
public
community college,
property.
it's privately owned, so
Who owns it?
community college.
Community college owns it. Is there is there a way to verify that?
You can,
So
you
these-
can,
can do
yeah,
all
you
you
can do
off
what you want, but
campus,
these are the
you
guys
just
that
need
are
to
campus
leave.
security.
Okay.
They're gonna have the ultimate
Wow.
say.
Okay.
the
So are
rules.
you willing to leave on your own terms so you don't have to go to jail?
Under threat of arrest, I'll leave, and I am documented this. This is on Facebook Live. It's on my body
well,
cam.
I'm sure they are,
So,
I am,
yeah.
he is.
If you're
Documents
threatening
everywhere.
to arrest me for standing on public property, I'll leave. And he said again under threat of arrest. So you're saying over there?
So
I'm on the street.
Are you familiar with Hutch? Are you from Hutch?
No, I'm not from it.
Okay. So HCC basically, this campus, we have a public street that's right here, that's 14th, and then if you go out, you have Plum Street, which runs north and south.
Okay.
As long as you are on the sidewalk here or on the cross street, that is public property. The sidewalk is owned and maintained by the city as long as it's on the street.
Okay.
Sidewalk that parallels the street.
Yep.
Not
Okay.
these sidewalks.
Yeah, you can be over there all
that
you
is
want.
next
That's
to the
perfectly
street.
legal. You can stand there and do whatever you want to do. Just this area is controlled and owned by HCC.
Oh.
And we are
Okay.
we're asking you to leave,
Mhm.
so I don't want you to leave your van parked here and walk on our sidewalk
understand
to
that.
get to their sidewalk. Does that make
And you
sense?
can,
That makes
if you
sense.
want to park your van on, you just can't
Wow.
park it on Plum because of traffic. But if you want to park it
Wow.
on the side streets, feel free to.
13th is
On
you can legally park there anytime.
The First Amendment does not apply today on Hutchinson Community College in America. Good to document that. Okay.
Hello there.
Hello there, sir. Lieutenant Vaughn.
Yes.
Nicholas Heald.
Okay. Say again your name.
Nicholas Heald.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
So, what's going on?
So summary, I was over at Hutchinson Community College, basically just exercising my First Amendment rights to peacefully assemble and free speech. And the staff there told me that that I needed to that I could not be there. That it was a public university, public campus, privately owned but public, and that they wanted me to leave. And so the police were called, and so the police told me that basically that if they trespassed me, I'd have to leave under threat of arrest. And because I told them it's a public campus that, and I've been there before, had no problem. And they said that the policy that they have now was just recently enacted. But from my understanding, if you're a public campus, anyone can be there to exercise the freedom to assemble and your free speech. So I said the U.S. Constitution overrides your campus policy, because I've never been on a public campus. Well, very rare have I been on a public campus where the officers did not respect, the First Amendment. And so I asked the officer. He said he was a supervisor, but I asked him for his superior. He said that he is not on duty today.
No, he said actually that he was busy, and that's me
Okay.
because I was in the meeting.
Okay. So I came over here because I'd like to return there, but I'd like to return there respectfully, without a hassle from the police, that they would respect my rights to be there on a public campus, and to and also that the staff would hopefully they'd understand too he has a right to be here, because usually there's only been maybe no more than two exceptions I can think of. When I go to a public campus, if the police are called, they affirm, yeah, he has a right to be here. Doesn't matter how much you don't like it. That's the point of the First Amendment. So I like to return there and be able to peacefully exercise my First Amendment rights, and without the police arresting me, or just to be able to have freedom right there.
Okay, so I understand where you're coming from. However, the Hutchinson Community College, while it may be a public campus, it is still a private institution. Most universities are privately owned. They have their regents, they're not for profit, that's the thing. So if they decide to have within their status a policy that you have to get let's just call it a license, that you don't pay a fee, but a license, because you're going to tell them, hey, I'm going to be at I want to be at your grounds at this location from such and such time to such and such time to praise the word of God, which is a noble endeavor, okay, and pass out some literature and proselytize as I'm inscribed to do in the good book. That's what you want to do. So if you do that and you go there and you fill out the stuff and they say, okay, yeah, we got to do this. Hey, it's your First Amendment and you're going through our channels. God bless. Go out there, have fun. That's how that works. You even have to do that within the city of Hutch. If you want to do a parade or a walk or a march, you have to go through the city and say, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm not just going to be on the corner of 14th and Plum. I'm going to be with my group and we're going to do a march down this street at such and such time. You have to get that signed off because that may require security like ourselves, police, to be there to make sure that you're not messed with by some person of the same faith but a different sect, a different religion, or somebody that's even an atheist. Because we don't want you to mess with as you're doing your work and you're exercising your First Amendment right. I think they would agree that's what you would want. You don't want to get hit.
Well,
but
go ahead.
On the other thing, if we don't do that, if we don't follow those rules, then we get into an issue. The thing with the First Amendment, freedom of speech and that kind of stuff, it is you have freedom to speech to say whatever you want about said government or other people as long as it's not slanderous. And if you do that, you should not be in trouble. Now, yes, the community college there does have public grounds, but it's maintained by them. And so they have within their covenant certain rules and practices that they can enact, okay? So yes, other universities, public institutions of higher learning, while they are public institutions of higher learning, meaning anybody can go in there, they can still have some control about what is said. Now, I know this from experience because when I was at the University of Michigan studying, we had people proselytizing there of all different faiths, and that was a process that they went through. A lot of schools, they
I actually did that at University of Michigan like maybe a year and a half ago. Had no problem.
Yeah,
Several
and
states,
again,
there's no
that's
problem.
because the culture over there is not the same as the culture within the Hutchinson Community College. They want you to go through the process because they want to know who's going beyond the campus. Because we have had issues with individuals there that have caused or they have incited fights and that kind of stuff, and they don't want to see that anymore. And they don't want to see other stuff happen there. So yes, they've got those rules, and you can ask for a copy of those rules.
Oh, they gave me a copy.
Okay, so you do have a copy then.
And
okay.
yes, sir. And I mean, I would say it's very different from like a parade or a march, because you do need some kind of permit or contact the police. But for like standing on a public sidewalk or anywhere like a public campus, I've been on many. You have the right to be there.
Yeah.
You don't really. I mean, your permit is the Constitution.
Well, no. Again, the Constitution is for the covenant between government, which is me right now in my uniform, and you, the citizen. Does not necessarily cover you, the person, and SDI, the business. Because you can be fired for whatever you think you feel like you can say, but if it's not in line with their company policy or culture, you can be let go.
Oh, but like not talking about like a private entity, talking about like a public area.
Well,
Right.
were you within the campus itself on a sidewalk, or were you on the edge?
I was outside the student union.
Okay, yeah,
And-
that would be a no-go unless you had prior authorization to do that.
Even on a public campus,
Because
I've never seen this.
the campus itself is that I'm going to use the word, but it's not used correctly because I can't think of the word. The campus itself is the curtilage. The sidewalk, like the sidewalk right there, that's going to be public access. Okay. Now I'm going to use a different analogy, but it kind of has some similar flavors and fruits to it. Okay, so say we have somebody this is the hospital. Okay, we'll use kind of the same. It's open to the public, right? Privately owned, kind of like HCC. And people go there for care. Now, you can be criminally trespassed from the hospital, okay? You can still go in there for care, all right? But once you're done, you have to be off of the campus grounds. And the campus grounds is enclosed on the public sidewalk, such as that, right there. You can't be on the grounds unless you're going there for business, okay? And so let's move that over to the college there. The curtilage itself is the public sidewalk there on the edge encircling the campus grounds. The campus grounds is inside, and if you have any business to do there, such as proselytizing, you would need to go into the school at the student union and say, hey, I want to proselytize here. How do I get that done? And then they give you the stuff, you set it up, and then they work with you so that you can do that. They give you your own little space and whatnot, and then you work from there. That's how it's supposed to work. I know it seems like a hassle.
It is a hassle. I respect
but no, you don't have to be respectful to me. You
I want to be respectful to your position.
But that's where we're at right now in this current world. So,
and respectfully, Lieutenant Vaughn, you don't see how that's a violation of the First Amendment?
No, because it's not a government institution. It's a public institution of higher learning, which is by itself within a non-governmental thing. I can't tell them as a government official, you need to do this, this, and this, unless it's within my scope as a law enforcement officer, and I'm there for a reason, okay?
Even though they've received taxpayer dollars?
There's a lot of places that receive taxpayer dollars, whether it's through grants and fundings and that kind of stuff. That doesn't negate their private institutional privileges. The government gives out money to all sorts of endeavors because they feel that it's in the public's best interest to give said money to help the community as a whole, because they understand that government doesn't always at its best giving out money to small local things. They give it to somebody who's boots on the ground all day, every day, and work from there.
Okay. Because they said they're public university but privately owned, which I looked that up, and it's like, from what I found, they're not privately owned.
They are as a nonprofit entity. So they have boards of regents, and the answer to those, that's the governmental agency that oversees that, making sure that they're doing everything right within the scope of their mandate to be an educator, that they're not cheating out people and that kind of stuff. That's what the board of regents is. What they do, we don't elect their president, we don't elect anything within that. They hire and fire, all that kind of stuff. It's the Board of Regents at the head, that the Kansas State Board of Regents, they filter out and they make sure all the universities are do what they need to. They make sure that the pay, that the tuition is reasonable and all that kind of stuff. So that's what makes them privately owned. There's no corporation necessarily like we would think of, like SDI or the Quick Shop or anything like that. It's murky. I'm not a very good explainer of it. I've had it explained to me before by much more learned people. Okay.
Okay. I still disagree that it's that it's.
And that is.
I'm just trying to figure out how I can go back there without being arrested.
Well, you just follow what the paperwork says about how to do it, and you'll never be messed with us. Okay.
Okay. It still sounds like a violation of the First Amendment.
Well, you can talk to an attorney, as always. I'm never going to tell you to or not to. It's up to you to make that decision.
Okay, doesn't that just seem like a grievous thing that our free speech and freedom to assemble is limited in America?
No, because that's how it's always been. You can always protest. I shouldn't be, as long as you're on like a sidewalk or something like that, you can protest all day long. I'll even hand you a water and a hot dog if you feel thirsty and hungry.
Yeah, because it's like we should be able to do this, like that, not just on a public sidewalk, but on a public campus. Now, a private university, right? They have a right, but on a public campus, I mean that is treated, usually the same as a public sidewalk.
No.
In my experience, it has been.
University may have a different view of it and say we are not going to do that, but there's all sorts of universities and there's all sorts of public institutions of higher learning, and they each do it differently. Some are a little bit more strict about what can be said, some are a little bit more open about what can be said on their grounds, but we do have to follow their rules and regulations.
Even when the Constitution, U.S. Constitution, overrides their rules.
Well, again, the Constitution is for how government and the citizen work, and they're not a true government entity like the law enforcement department. They may receive public tax dollars to do that, and they may have mandates from the Board of Regents, which is their overseeing agency that they have to follow to keep in line, but they're still a private organization doing the educational aspect for our community. Okay?
Can I give you a gospel check?
Yeah, sure.
Tells you how to get to heaven, have your sins forgiven. I'll give you this one too. And you're pretty much the top guy here today?
Yes, today.
Okay, because I still respectfully believe that you and the officers there are wrong about that they can basically decide who comes on campus and who doesn't, or that they can tell people to leave, saying that even though they're a public campus that they're privately owned, which I don't believe that's true, but just grieve that's what we come to in America, that we murder babies every day thousands of times, and the police protect the murderers, and that free speech is limited. I praise God for our freedom of speech and assembly, but it's grievous when you go to a public spot, whether a campus or anywhere else, and the First Amendment is squashed. But
well, again, we have to agree to disagree on
that's
worked.
It's just another step towards
how it should be interpreted. So, and that's the great thing about this country, that we can do that without coming to blows, and we can always go to the courts for an answer. Okay?
So thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem, sir. You take care.
Yes, sir.
Have a blessed day. Okay?